Hi, Reed. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Sarah. It is my pleasure.
Yeah, it's such an honor to meet you. I have to say, I'm so impressed with everything you have contributed to the world and the holistic health industry, and I want to tell you thank you for that.
Really, it's a calling, and I'm humbled by the appreciation, especially coming from you, because I know a little bit about you, and you're also someone who's very dedicated and mission driven. So, from one
Yeah,
to another.
thank you. Yeah, I definitely resonated with your passion and your mission as being in line with things that I would like to achieve in my career. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing more about you. So you have quite the list of expertise. I'm going to read everything off really fast for my listeners.
Oh no, not that.
Yeah, it is very impressive. I'm like, okay, so you're a board certified, holistic health practitioner, a certified nutritional therapist, an expert in functional lab testing, holistic lifestyle medicine as well, the founder of Functional Diagnostic Nutrition and the FDN Certification Course with over 4,000 graduates in 50 countries. You're also you serve as the health director to a wellness center in San Diego for over 10 years with over 10,000 clients, and you're known as one of the most experienced clinicians in this field. And as if that wasn't enough, you also are on the advisory board of the American Natural Wellness Coaches and American Association for Natural Wellness Coaches. I mean, wow. How did you have time for all of that?
Hey, everybody gets the same amount of time. It's what you do with it that matters.
Yeah, as I said before, I am so impressed with everything you have been able to accomplish and contribute back. So I really resonated with your story, being a San Diego girl myself, since yours is in San Diego. So why don't we start there, and you
Okay.
tell me about where this all started?
I actually wasn't in the health space as a professional until the late 90s. So I had other careers. I was actually in environmental law and saving the planet, air, birds, water, trees, bees. And in the late 90s, I started to turn my attention towards health and people, uh, including me. I didn't want anything sneaking up on me. I was getting older, and I was in great shape, good health. Never been to a doctor really, and maybe a few sports injuries, motorcycle accidents, and a dentist. But otherwise, I didn't know what the health system was like until again, I wanted to change gears. I got out of saving the planet to just people. And I went to work for my son's chiropractor. He was a high school athlete, and I was really impressed with the office. And I knew I wanted to work in that field, wellness. I need to be doing this for a living, and I knew I could make money. I'm a good businessman, but I took that clinic over basically, and also went back to school. I became a nutritional therapist and all these other things, myofascial therapy and personal training, and just really jumped into it with both feet. But the absolute key to where I am now with that humble beginning was running the labs. So, everybody coming in the office was sick. They were looking for something alternative. They've been to 6, 8, or 10 different practitioners and weren't better yet. And me, I had a lot to learn, but I knew that was a ripoff. Just said, what? How can you I just didn't understand the system that they were fighting against, in a sense, fighting with. And instead of working together with their health practitioners, everything was a big battle to me, the way I observed it. And so one day I was out riding my motorcycle, and I just determined, thinking about it, that I was going to be the last person they needed to see. And I know that's very naive, but and as I said, I had a lot to learn, but I had nothing to unlearn. I hadn't been trained in anything in that area really. I read a lot of books on health, but I started running the labs, as I said, and I ran thousands of labs. Over the next 10 years, I ran labs on over 10,000 people. And that's a lot. I didn't know it was a lot at the time. I thought it was normal. I'm just working hard. What's the big deal? But I was doing a lot of lecturing and to get customers for a clinic, and people kept saying you should be teaching other practitioners. And one day a lab called me. This is after 10 years, and they said, "Who the hell are you? Where are you getting all these customers?" Like lab client. I go, "What do you mean? I don't know. I'm just a guy working hard. I like helping people." They said, "No, you're onto something because you run more labs than any 5 doctors combined that we have." And I go, and they said you should be teaching. So I put my first course together in 2008, and kind of the rest is kind of history. Now I just teach other practitioners how to do what I sweated out for 10 years. And I really sweated it out because, again, I had a lot to learn, nothing to unlearn, kind of a blank slate. But so these labs really illuminated what the people really needed to be working on instead of just taking their drugs or getting surgery and all the dead ends that they've been faced with. And I was forced into that because I wasn't a physician. Again, lots to learn, nothing to unlearn. Just what's the shortcut? What's going to get to their underlying causes and conditions? I know you had your own health issues, and that's what got you into the space. For me, it was the health issues that my client, that our customers, our patients had that had never. I mean, again, if you've seen 6 or 8 or 10 people and aren't better yet, you're being ripped off. You're spinning your wheels. I called it at the time cycle of trial and error. What are you going to do? Just try standing on your head with carrots in your nose? Or so, it's like we need to find out what's really wrong. And that's where the lab work came in.
That's amazing. And like I was telling you about my story, the same thing changed my life too. So can you tell me a little bit more about these labs that you're running?
Yeah. So we test. I'll give you an acronym: hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, nervous system. That's HIDDEN. Now that is a pattern that just appeared. It just occurred over all these years of running thousands of labs. And I started with the hormone testing because most of our patients were women, and I had my own bone density testing machine. So I was bones and then hormones, bones and hormones.
Mhm.
That was me for the first couple of years, and it helped a lot of people, Sarah, but it didn't help everybody, and I wanted to help everybody. So I didn't want them going down the street to the next person. No, I'm going to be the last person you needed to see. So you can get your hormones balanced, but if your immune system is overactive or underactive, if your digestion isn't working, if your detoxification systems aren't fully functional and working for you, and then energy production and nervous system balance, all of that happened not necessarily in that order, but over the years working with people and never giving up, never allowing them to just go down the street to the next person for their other problem.
Mhm. I
And
love
by the way, I
that.
noticed, yeah. So I noticed, I want to that you ask me another question, but that's the problem with today's medicine is it's so everyone specializes. So you can go to a doctor with your problems, your complaints, your issues. And the doctor could easily say, even today, all these years later, I don't see anything wrong with you. Your
Mhm.
blood work looks normal. Here's a chill pill or something like that.
Mhm.
And so the person goes down the street and they land on, let's say, a gastroenterologist who starts helping them with their GI, heartburn, gas, indigestion, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, but when they say, my muscle tone's down, my energy's not good, my sex drive isn't there. Oh, well, hey, I'm a gastroenterologist. For that, you've got to go see the endocrinologist. So the doctor's perfectly fine not helping that person. their conscience is totally assuaged by the fact that, well, my specialty is this. And so this person ends up still caught in the cycle of trial and error, going from one specialist. I'm seeing a neurologist for this, an endocrinologist, and a gastroenterologist, and a proctologist, or whatever the heck it is, And so that's what's wrong with the system. And I just couldn't let them go down the street. No, you're not going to go back out into the fire and trial and error. And so that's why the system is so comprehensive. I was about to say complex, and there are some complexities, but we make it easy. And so it's so tried and true now. We've been doing it for 23 years.
Wow. Yeah, I hear you. It has always driven me nuts too, of like, why do they segregate body parts? Like,
Yeah,
so
reductionism. It's called reductionism. It's a term they are totally fine with.
Yeah, and it's really unfair. And then the majority of us, because I was stuck in that trap. It's like you got your OB and you got your endo and you got your primary, and none of them talk with each other or coordinate anything, and they can even conflict one another. And you're just like, oh my gosh. So I love how you said, I'm not gonna, like, it stops here. It stops here with me now. Like you're not gonna go down the road any further. Like I will work on you and work on you and work on you until like you're better.
The caveat, I have to interrupt and say, the caveat to that is if they have a true contracted downward spiral going on, that's what doctors are good for. Hey, if you're downward spiraling really fast, then the observations I make, the body takes time to heal. So we can't capitalize on my observations. And so there's no problem with working hand in hand with a physician. You can stop some of these quickly downward spiraling conditions. Generally, those are more urgent. You could call them a true medical condition if you want, disease process that's moving forward really fast.
Yeah.
So we can help people with chronic downward spiraling, degenerative conditions, lifestyle-based, environmental-based, and mentally based, all these different things, if we have time to work with the person.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with what you said. Yeah. So my first question for you is, what do you think are the root causes of thyroid imbalances?
Well, you probably never heard this word before, but it's stress. So there's a common expression, especially in the alternative health space, all disease begins in the gut. Well, no, it doesn't, but it certainly circles around to the gut a lot. And so we could think that. But we have our bodies and minds and emotions, and it's all under assault from the environment. And I don't like to say we're only human, but we're human. Therefore, our bodies have to respond, find ways to adapt. So it's really a stress adaptation. And thyroid, frankly, is just one more organ. It takes all of its orders from the hypothalamus and pituitary, basically. And so it's really up in the head. It's stress and all kinds of stressors affecting the thyroid. So most thyroid conditions are underactive thyroid. They call it hypothyroidism. And in my experience, it's not really the problem. The problem is the stress that is trying to slow your body down. It's trying to adjust your metabolism downward on purpose as a response to stress. So your body wants to hibernate. You're under so much stress that your thyroid is slowed down, basically, again, on purpose, to save resources, to conserve resources, because the body's built that way to protect us. Now, by the way, that stress needs to be sorted out. We call it stress management, stress sorting. I call it sorting out metabolic chaos, which is a big term, covers all the functions, not just thyroid. But So if you have stress, whether it be mental, emotional, when I say stress, you think of finances, relationships, traffic, work, my boss sucks, whatever, something like that. That's why I don't have a boss, right? But but no, so there's all the mental, emotional things. Your body adapts to it, responds to that. But it also responds, like my personal history, I don't have a lot of stress. I just live a different way. So I don't feel the mental, emotional stress as much as some people, but physical stress, aches and pains and stuff from injuries. I have a very well used body. I played 4 different sports, dabbled in others, did some extreme things, ride a motorcycle for over 50 years now. And believe me, I've been tough on my body. I just took a spill Christmas Day and banged my head pretty bad. So I got physical stress. Guess what? The body responds the same way from physical stress to physical stress as it does to mental stress. And oh, by the way, there's another thing going on. Remember where I started in environmental
Hmm.
law and studying the environment and the chemicals? There's tens of thousands of chemicals being dumped into our environment, whether it's in the air, the water, the food supply, everywhere, the carpeting, the clothing, you name it, cleaning products, personal care products, on and on and on, chemical stress. And then we have our own biochemical stress, or the things our body produces. So stress is this ubiquitous broad spectrum of influences on us poor humans, and it will slow your thyroid down,
Yeah.
among many other dysfunctions in the body. And so you have to first check that this is the approach we take. I'm not saying there aren't pathological things. Sometimes the thyroid you can have autoimmune condition. You have things where there is a primary thyroid, but most of the time it's secondary or tertiary. It's not even the first thing that we look at. Um, and there's a reason your thyroid is underproducing, probably to save your butt.
Yeah. That's funny you brought that up, because when I was on the other side of my life, after my brother passed away, and I was looking back at those 10 years of illness I was under, um, I learned about that, like adaptive stress response and like the protective situation for low thyroid function. And I realized I had this like aha moment of when my husband would come home, or my ex-husband would come home, I was so scared and I had so much anxiety that I would instantly be tired, and I would feel like I would have to go in the room and lay down. And this went on for a really long time. And I realized, oh my gosh, it was as if my thyroid was keeping me away from him, or this protection, situation was keeping me away from him, um, to keep me safe. I wasn't around him all the time. So that's just one aspect. Everything else you said of the umbrella of stress and all of the factors that go into it, I agree with 100%. And I have found within myself, especially the chemical exposures and the heavy metals. My gosh, I've been eliminating so much aluminum out of my body for 3 years now. And it's made sense why I had severe memory loss, the inability to even like spit a sentence out, you know, and
Yes.
there's just so much to it. Yeah.
Well, you have something going for you, and it's a sense of self-awareness. We're able to take, a little step back and look at those things. Don't accept them as normal. You don't accept that as normal, but yet we're conditioned in life that these things are normal just because they're so common.
Yeah.
So this is a common expression in alternative medicine. Common doesn't mean normal.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had a lady, not to get away from your story because it's really critical, and it tells me more about why you're here, trying to help others. You have such a big heart, and you've got your
Mm.
experiences, and you have you're on a journey to overcome. You've overcome a lot. None of us are at the top of the stairway. We all are still climbing the stairs. in our journey to health, but you've done an awful lot. I don't want to take away from that, but I had a lady once sitting in front of me, and she was 44, and had a normal menstruation, had kids, and all this, and she was starting to have monthly problems around her cycle, and was told by the physician, "Here, take these pills for 2 months. If it doesn't work, we'll do a hysterectomy."
Oh
At
gosh.
and then the next words out of her mouth were, "This is perfectly normal for a
Mm.
person your age." So this, if you hear normal, you should have like a big, that's red lights
Red
flashing,
flags.
sirens going off. Like,
Yeah.
please don't tell me this is normal. What you're going through, it's not normal.
And
Normal is really joyful and happy, right?
yeah, and you know what? Thank you for pointing that out, because one of the battles I feel like I'm fighting, that I speak to in my community, is these surgeons that are pressuring women into having the full removals. And some don't even have really severe situations. I'm like, okay, if you have cancer, right? That makes sense. But
Yeah,
I'm like,
sure.
have you tried anything at all to take care of that nodule? Or, and there's just no help. It's just straight surgery. And it just really freaks me out. And I'm trying to really, like you said, they lumped that. I was like, oh, it's just a normal thing, almost like taking your tonsils out. It's just normal to not have a thyroid gland. I'm like, no.
Yeah. I don't know if I should tell a joke right now or not, but
Go ahead.
John Lee was the guy who wrote in about 2002, around there, what your doctor may not tell you about menopause.
Mm.
And he was such a character. He's from California, and I used to, when I was lecturing, I play this 5 minute video of his at a lot of my lectures. He was just such a out of the box, unafraid physician up against the establishment and things. But one thing he said was, a lady came to him, and she said, "Doctor, I'm really tired of Western medicine. All these doctors ever want to do is give you pills or surgery. Pills or surgery. It's always drugs or surgery. I don't get it." And he said, "Well, tell me more. What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, I had this pain down here," pointing to her lower abdomen.
Mhm.
And so they gave me some pills for a while, but they didn't work after a while. And then so they just they gave me a hysterectomy. And he
Yeah.
says, "I'm very sorry to hear that. What was there something else?" She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Then I got this pain up here under my right rib cage side, and they said it was my gallbladder. So they gave me gallbladder pills for a while. And then they eventually just took out my gallbladder." And Dr. Lee said, "Lady, no, I'm going to stop you right there, ma'am. Don't tell those doctors that you get headaches."
Oh my gosh. They might chop your head off. Oh my goodness gracious, right?
And it's a joke, but it's kind of how things
Sadly
work.
true. I know.
Like drugs and surgery, just take the parts out. I
Yeah.
had a patient a long time ago he was having gallbladder trouble, and his regular doctor just wanted to take it out, and actually said, "Well, that's our bread and butter surgery.
Mm.
Like, that's how they make their living. That's our bread
Yeah.
and butter, gallbladder removal, not
Wow.
gallbladder repair or
Mm.
restoration." Now, sometimes they're gone too far, and yeah, you got to take them out. But
Yeah.
it's everything that led up to that where we'd want to
Yeah.
step in and help somebody.
Yeah. There's so much you can do before just opting to the surgery. So I try to really, really illuminate on that. Because it's
Mm.
just getting scary at this point. And I'm like, you
But
need your gland. Okay. Let's
yeah,
just
what
get
are
it
you gonna do
preserved.
about the brain? Like this.
Yeah.
Just, oh my God. Yeah. So and other body parts. You don't have extra parts. We've been saying that for a long time.
Thank
You
you.
don't get extra parts.
Like your spleen, or yeah, all these things. They're not extra. They're there for a reason.
So you were talking about thyroid, and I'm just curious,
Yeah.
did you ever have not was it a nodular thing, or was it a just an underactive thing?
It was just underactive. Yeah.
Yeah. You,
Fortunately,
you ever
um, go ahead.
told you had an autoimmune condition? You didn't have
Yeah.
Hashimoto's, right? Like
Yeah.
thyroiditis.
Yeah, I was told I had hypo and Hashis. It was about at the 8-year mark that I was told I had Hashis. And I don't know. It just to me, it just never made sense, like none of it. I'm like, why would this just start happening? But at the same time, like my hair is falling out and I'm having severe panic attacks. And it just,
Yeah.
something didn't add up. Like I could tell there was just holes to all these stories and theories and things being told. And I could just tell there was just not a lot of logic behind what I was being told. And so that's why I just decided I'm going to figure it out myself. And I did. And it was pretty incredible. And
Remarkable. Well,
yeah,
good for you. Yeah. And I know you had some training
yeah,
and a lot of self-awareness, a lot of not
yeah,
accepting that it's normal.
yeah,
This putting the Hashimoto's aside for a minute, because that's a more serious condition, usually related to autoimmunity and leaky gut. And I got all these, I call it metabolic chaos, lots of
yeah.
things going on. But the cycle of trial and error um, extends to patients, people who have these issues, and they go to a physician and are told, based on their symptoms, that it sounds like something. So physicians are using today, I call it the sounds like method. So
Yeah.
you have hair thinning, let's say cold or numb extremities, constipation, feel sad or blue, and you got little weight that you just can't seem to get rid of. And well, that sounds like thyroid. That's a traditionally reliable cluster of symptoms. So it's called
I love that.
traditionally
Sounds
reliable.
like.
Sounds like thyroid. Now, other people go with a different list of symptoms and, oh, it sounds like irritable bowel, or it sounds like a parasite. Run a parasite test. God forbid you find a parasite and tell the person that's their problem, because it isn't. So with thyroid, you have this traditionally reliable cluster of symptoms that sounds like thyroid, and the physician will run a thyroid test and then pat themselves on the back. I always say, don't sprain your wrist. Pat themselves. I found your problem. It's thyroid. It's
Yeah.
hypothyroid. It's low thyroid. And what's the solution? Well, here's something to make up the difference.
Yeah.
And just do this. Come back in a couple months, and we'll test you again, and we'll check the levels, and we'll
Hmm.
see what the levels are at. So the doctor's concern becomes the levels of thyroid to get them
Yes.
back up into range. We call that treating the paper,
Yep. Hmm.
because you're really focused on the numbers. And look, I'm a guy that teaches a course in lab work. So I
Hmm.
understand the numbers, and I care about the numbers, but the numbers aren't the problem.
Right.
They're the result of the problem.
Hmm.
So something caused the numbers to be there. And if all you do is say, well, here's your thyroid, this will get the numbers back up, you may be doing nothing. You're ignoring the
Hmm.
real problem, which is what caused them to go down
In the
in the
first place,
and
which
so
was
yeah.
which was my next question, because I have my own, theories of what I discovered of what the root cause illnesses are of thyroid illness or Hashimoto's. So I was curious if you could continue what you were saying on into that avenue.
Yeah, the again, thyroid can be complex, and you always
Hmm.
want to get checked out by a doctor for some serious, we call it pathology. Something's actually wrong with the thyroid. But if it's ordinary hypothyroid, it's just underactive. There's usually some kind of stress somewhere. And I could show you in diagrams that are in my course. They're very interesting, how it works, how the hypothalamus gets signals from the environment, from everything from toxins to other hormones to even the limbic system, mental, emotional. There's just all of these things involved. The thyroid will signal the hypothalamus will signal the pituitary. The pituitary will then signal the thyroid. So you got a lot of the messages, and then the messages have to be received and understood. The thyroid will put out T4, which isn't active. It doesn't affect the cells. T4 has to be converted to T3. Most of that happens in the liver. So you have to have a healthy liver too. It's very interesting how this all works. Then the liver stores some of it as different forms of thyroid for activation later, believe it or not, in the gut by gut bacteria. So there's I don't know how technical I would be permitted to get here, but
Oh, please, I am already
the
geeking out with you.
yeah, it's it's just really interesting, the metabolism, and we
Yeah.
call these metabolic pathways of how things work and how the body has backup systems. Well, there's another factor that comes in, and it's called cortisol from stress. And it doesn't matter if it's aches and pains that raises your cortisol or tries to. It could be chemicals. It could be mental, emotional, punched in the face or yelled at, or arguments, and like you mentioned, fear and different things like that. Well, and cortisol has a direct effect in those metabolic pathways that would slow down thyroid production.
Yeah.
You're not even making the right amount of thyroid. And then, God forbid, there's the other metabolism of that hormone, T4 into T3, which goes out to the cells. Every cell in your body has a thyroid receptor. So there's receptorship issues. Besides T4, you get reverse T3, which can never be converted back to T4 or active T3, and it can get out there and fill the receptor sites. You also have T4 converting to T3 acetate and T3 sulfate, which are kind of a backup system. They're not activated, and they're up to 25% of your actual thyroid hormone, active T3. So, but they're converted later, mostly by gut bacteria. So you have to have a healthy gut. You have to be healthy to be healthy.
Head to toe. Yep.
So you have to have all. That's why I call it metabolic chaos. There's so much going on, and there's a lot of science. You've heard that word, science,
I love your
going
air
on.
quotes.
A lot of science going on.
Yeah.
A lot of anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, obviously. But so you could have a person who's suffering with the same symptoms, that traditionally reliable cluster of symptoms, for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
And if you don't go look at all those reasons and sort it out for a person, they're always going to be on that they're just going to be patching and band-aiding and drugs and surgery kind of a thing. Now, when you add to that other complexities or complications, if you want, like the autoimmune, you've also got a person whose immune system's down, and so their gut bacteria goes out of balance, the good and bad flora. They're not breaking down proteins very well. They end up with kind of malnourishment. They also, since they have a dysbiosis, get, I think the medical term is bigger, badder bugs.
Yes.
Then you end up with bacterial overgrowth and fungal overgrowth and even parasites and things, that because you're hospitable to them.
Yeah.
Now, again, you don't know where the symptoms are going to occur, what that's going to sound like. So that same person with all that going on, their immediate symptoms might be, heartburn, gas, indigestion, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, alternating, different gut pain, and things like that. And so that could sound like a parasite, but our question, yeah, we definitely want to identify those bigger, badder bugs and eliminate them, but we don't know why your body was a good host. What caused that? Because we all get exposed to these bugs, but not all of us have the initiating and downward spiraling of infestation and overgrowth. And why? Because some people are just healthier than others. Their immune system can handle some bugs.
Yeah. You know what I have found in almost every one of my clients? Epstein-Barr, like bad,
Viral.
high antibodies.
Yeah, we see a lot of viral high antibodies to viruses, and that's another contributor to metabolic chaos. But it's just one more contributor.
Yeah.
Now, lately, you've heard that word, the C word, going around a lot, and it's really done a lot to disempower people. They
Yeah.
really feel victimized by the pandemic, and that's another opportunity for us, Sarah, to go out and educate and to get people to try to take back control of
Hmm.
their own health, because I believe that's where it's at. That was another huge factor of mine. Again, when I first started in the clinic, I can't believe people have been to 7 or 8 practitioners or more and weren't better yet. And I thought it was a ripoff. And I, and and the other thing that bothered me, again, out riding my motorcycle, I think pretty deeply about some of these things. Um, why do people put control of their health in someone else's hands? Where does that come from? And how can we get them to be more self-aware like you? You
Yeah.
become, you were kind of, listen, you could have been forced the other way. Just give me a lobotomy and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
What I mean? Or you could have just gone on drugs. You could, that would just numb you.
Hmm.
And, but it wasn't you. You were more self-aware and you wanted that control over your own life and your own health. And that's who we appeal to, I think. So that's our main driving factors, was my point, was that we want control of one's health to be in one's own hands. That's why the lab work, I'm so proud of the tens of thousands of labs that we run, and that data belongs to the people whose data it is. That's your blood, your saliva, your urine, your stool, your hair, the analysis we do and all these things. That's your data. It doesn't
Yeah.
belong to the doctor. When was the last time the doctor ever said, oh, by the way, here's your lab results as you're going out to, they never do that. That's their secret data, right? No, it's not. It belongs to you. And there's data and there's connections to be made. And that's what we do, is we connect the dots. We don't look at one dot and say, here's your prescription. You know,
Yeah.
let's get those numbers back to, no, let's get your life back in order.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Get control of it back in your own hands.
exactly. Exactly. And I think, like you said, right now, this pandemic, this is really a time to be screaming this the most. It is, ooh, it's been pretty
We're
scary.
screaming it the mostest we ever screamed it,
Hmm. Yeah.
because we've always known this. And then, listen, there was already a pandemic. It was called um, modern living. It was a pandemic before this pandemic. Pandemic was bad, and it really shook people up, and it created, like you said, a real new sense of awareness of control. And now it's not in our hands, but it was bad before. The
That's
idea
true.
of just take your pills, shut up,
Well,
don't ask questions, take your pills.
yeah.
Don't worry, we'll just take the parts out later if that doesn't work. Well,
Yeah.
so we were already in a pandemic of ill health, obesity and diabetes and cancer and heart disease, and you name it, on and on and on. So it just got worse, is all, with the
Yeah.
virus.
And thank you for saying that, because that's, I feel the exact same way. Is the thyroid, especially this thyroid community and the women that are stuck in this constant, like you said, this battle of, it's funny how you say the medications and the surgeries, because the way I've termed it is maim, mutilate, or medicate,
Oh, wow.
and right. It's so true.
Right.
It's like kill off and eradicate, or so
Yeah,
anyways,
slash and burn.
exactly.
Yeah, torture. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just,
So
yeah.
I I don't, I think there's been a bit of an awakening for the women with this pandemic, also transferring over to the disservice that's happening to women within this thyroid hamster wheel, but I don't think it's quite there yet. And so I'm trying to wake everyone up to everything we've been talking about. And I think it's going to work at some point, but yeah,
The
it's,
effort is the key, and as we, like, I teach, and I know I'm teaching really good, solid foundational principles of healing. And the lab work is also science. It tells you something.
yeah.
But one of my students or more is going to take it to another level. That's how these things work. So while I'm a pretty good teacher and I have a course and people take it, and we're sending these sort of, I don't want to say missionaries, but deputies around the world. We're in 50 countries. It's catching on. They'll take it to another level.
Mhm.
You know, beyond my time, I'm sure. I mean, I got a lot of life left. I don't mean anything like that, but this is getting bigger and bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's like you're unleashing your warriors. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So tell us about your book, The Gap, the simple steps to reclaim your health and reverse most chronic diseases.
I've written chapters in 3 different books. The Gap, there's another one called Needs Gap, and there's another one called Mission Matters. And so I submit chapters to these people who really want to publish books and get the word out. And so there's multiple authors. I talk the same stuff. It's about everybody's right to their own data, to get that data, where to get the data, what data they need to identify healing opportunities so that you know what's really wrong, what you can really work on. The numbers on the paper aren't the problem. It's what caused those numbers to be out of range or even in range, but not perfect. And so, and by the way, we look at this whole cluster. I call it a constellation
Mm.
healing opportunity. So I learned in the clinic, and now I teach this entire constellation of healing opportunities. So whatever the book is, when I write my own book, matter of fact, I'm going down to Cabo for a month, and I rented a condo for the whole
Mm.
month of February. I'm going away. I'm going to leave the business mostly to my staff, who's
Nice.
amazing. And they're like, "Yeah, go."
Mm.
So write my book, but I'm just saying that it's all about identifying healing opportunities. That's not a medical diagnosis. We're not practicing medicine. We're
Yeah.
looking at each individual and what is your problem, and what's way upstream, sometimes far away from where the symptoms are occurring. So we
Mm.
look at the whole constellation of healing opportunities, all the stars, and we connect those stars. We connect the dots
Yeah.
so that a person can then the protocol they need to follow to get out of it flows naturally from that. So it's the HIDDEN, hidden causes and concerns: hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, nervous system balance. And then what flows from that for each person is a diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplementation plan, a
Yeah.
personal, individualized, only for you plan. Now that spells dress. So it's the hidden stressors and concerns. It's the dress solution: diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation. And each one is huge. And each one could be that person's avenue to better health. But for really being your best, you need to put it all together.
Yeah.
It's not just diet. It's not just getting a good night's sleep. It's not just exercise. Even stress, sometimes you can only manage it. You can eliminate some of it. And then the supplementation is required because food sucks.
Depleted. Yeah.
So yeah, food, so, and plus with supplements, you can support and you can stimulate and you can,
Yeah.
besides substitute was missing from food. So
Mhm.
the DRESS is kind of the lifestyle. It's a holistic program applied to an individual based on their unique data, their unique we do 5 labs on every person. And there's more you can do later for troubleshooting, but most people just start to get better. They just get healthier, and their symptoms slowly fade away. And we don't take any credit for it. The person did all the work.
Yeah. But once you show them what's wrong, excuse me, and so they can have the direction to go, that's the magic.
That's the magic.
Yeah.
It's emancipating. And
Mhm.
for 20 plus years, people that I showed their results to, and show them what's wrong, really, they're amazed.
Yep.
How come no one else ever ran these tests before? Hey,
Mhm.
that's just not how modern medicine works.
Because they're not in business to get you well.
Well, yeah, every cured patient is a lost customer
Yep.
in that world,
Sadly.
especially when it comes to the drug companies and things like that. So I've got some opinions about those things, and
Yeah.
I think they're pretty well informed, but I'm still learning too,
Yeah.
always open. This,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's a it's a cool place to be.
It sounds amazing.
And you're doing
Yeah.
amazing work, Sarah. Your personal story is remarkable. You're going to come on our podcast
Yay, I can't
and
wait.
you're going to tell your story. I have a great producer and host of that. And who knows what we might do together down the road.
Well, what's funny
Especially,
is I was looking through your programs because I already considered, FDN training. Um, but I saw your thyroid certification and I was like, oh, that's a no-brainer. Like doing that.
yeah, that's an advanced course. So you go ahead and take that. You don't have to be an FDN. So we have our course. It's the FDN Certification Course.
Mhm,
And then, like I said, there's some um, sort of troubleshooting deeper dives that you still might need to take.
mhm.
Even if you do the HIDDEN and you do the DRESS and you feel so much better. Usually 90 days is all we need to turn your life around
Yeah.
because we have health coaching program that goes with it.
Mhm.
It's not figuring out what's wrong and telling you what to do. It's helping you do it that matters.
Right.
So
The
yeah, figure out what's wrong.
implementation.
Explain what's going to reverse it or fix it or improve it. And then how do you do that?
Mhm.
Physicians say, a lot of them, even today with functional medicine, take this for 3 months, come back and we'll retest you.
Yeah.
We're like, look, here's all this data. Here's the instruction manual. And let's work together for 3 months.
Yes. I
Not come
love,
back in 3 months and let us know how you did. No, you
yeah.
have to be coached. You have to work with somebody that cares. That's their job. And
Mhm.
so we're actually turning lives around completely, drug free, and but based on data and education, and
Mhm.
it's fun.
Yeah, it is. This is very, it's pretty much what I already do now.
Yeah.
And and you're right, what I see is because we have to change so many habits, in so many ways, way of eating and taking supplements that they may not have ever been used to taking supplements, or we have to create new daily routines. We have to create new self-care routines, and it can feel like a lot, and that guidance, the love, support, and the accountability is huge.
Mhm.
It really helps to have someone hold your hand and be like, you got this, let's go. Like, don't give up.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. They have to start with wanting to get better.
Yeah.
Like you have a problem. Yes. Do you want to change it?
Yeah.
The
And
answer's
then they
got
go,
yeah.
yes, where do I begin?
Yeah. So well, we run our labs and design a program and then help you run it. So
Yeah.
not like you do, of course.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell everyone where they can hook up with you if they want to follow you, learn more, stay with you?
Well, I would go to fdntraining.com/Thursday Thyroid in honor of your
Mm,
podcast. It's Thursday Thyroid Talks is your podcast, right? So
yeah.
we created a special URL for people. It's fdntraining.com/Thursday Thyroid. And they can learn about there's no selling, it's like, wow, here's a program that you could do or not do. Remember, you have to have a health problem and you have to want to change it.
Yeah.
You got to start there. And then if you want to train, and how to help others, that's what we would specialize in.
Love it. Yeah. Well, thank you. I didn't know you guys made that special URL.
Just for you,
Yeah, how
Coach
special.
Sarah, Coach
Thank
Sarah
you.
Choi.
Thank you. So, if there was one message of encouragement you can leave everyone with, what would it be?
Oh man, you
I
know,
know.
I want
Hot
to get
spot.
too woo-woo or mushy on people, but I wake up every day and hug my wife and thank God for my beautiful life and wife. And you know, I have children, you know, I mean, I'm just thankful. I am so I think gratitude is where you have to start. And if you can start every day like that, it's going to be a better day than if you didn't. You know, like so. I think the point of view, mental, emotional self-awareness, which I mentioned a couple of times in
Mhm.
this call, that you obviously have the level of self-awareness that you can be in control and you can change. So I start every day with gratitude. That's my one. If I had one, you said if you had one
Yeah,
thing,
I love
I
that.
would start there and build upon it.
And I totally agree with you. Gratitude is huge, starting with loving your thyroid.
Yeah, well, you mentioned you're great, how grateful you are that you in the path you're on. You've had certainly your highs and lows, but your highs are what you focus on. You focus on how can you uh keep at that level. So good on you, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you, Reed, so much. And thank you so much for this time. I appreciate everything you shared. And we'll talk to you later.
Anytime. Yeah, just we'll be in touch. And you're gonna be I'm sending an email right now so that you can be on our podcast.
Okay. I look
Okay,
forward to
good.
it. Thank you.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day.
You too.
All right. Bye.